Hello viewers, good evening. This is Oscar Jiman, a student of Geography and Regional Planning from the University of Cape Coast. I'm a research coach and a data analyst. I bring to you tutorials on research methodology. In this tutorial, we are going to start from research methodology versus research method. We want to know the differences between them. Then we will look at the research approach. Then after that, we will delve into the types of research approach. Taking them one after the other, we will look at the difference between research methodology. When you talk about research methodology, it is the systematic way of solving a research problem, whilst the research method includes all the techniques or the technique used for conducting a research. A research methodology is a science of studying how research is conducted scientifically, whereas the research method are the techniques or tools the researcher adopts for undertaking a research activity. Also, consider research methodology is the justification for using a particular research method or the guiding doctrine of discovering knowledge, whereas the research method is the tool for fulfilling the principles of research methodology. Others will also look at the research methodology as the theory or the scientific research that should be undertaken, including the theoretical and the philosophical assumption upon which research is based, and the implication of this for the method or methods adapted is according to Sanders 2007. Whereas the research method is the techniques and procedure used to obtain and analyze research data, including, for example, questionnaires, observation, interviews, statistical and non-statistical techniques. Basically, when we talk about the research methodology, we are talking about the science or the systematic way of solving a research problem or the societal problem, whereas the research method is the tool or technique used or employed in undertaking such study. We are now moving on to the research approach. When you talk about research approach, it is the plan or the procedure that consists of the step of broad assumption to detailed method of data collection, analysis, and interpretation. What we are trying to mean is that is the knowledge behind and the philosophical assumption behind how data is being collected, analyzed, and interpreted in a research. We have the qualitative approach, then we have the quantitative approach, whereas the combination of these two give birth to what is known as the mixed approach. We are going to take them one after the other in a subsequent description and interpretation, then we will look at them one after the other. Taking the qualitative approach, researchers are interested in understanding the meaning people have constructed, according to Merriam 2009. When you talk about qualitative research or approach, it involves studies that do not attempt to quantify the results as compared to the quantitative that normally use the statistical summary or analysis. But qualitative researchers study things in their natural setting, attempting to make sense of it and to interpret phenomena in terms of the meaning people bring to the world. Qualitative study typically involves interviews and observation without formal measurement as some of the research data collection instruments for gathering data. Qualitative research properly seeks answers to questions by examining various social settings and the individuals who inhabit these settings. Qualitative research explores attitude, behavior, and experiences through methods such as interviews, focus group discussion, and others. Qualitative researchers focus on the quality and texture of experience rather than the identification of cause and effect relationship as it do happen in the quantitative approach. However, qualitative deals with text, deals with exploring the meaning that people give or try to make out of things in the society, and it also study participants in their natural setting without influencing their mood. Looking at the advantages of qualitative approach, can be said that it studies a phenomena in a holistic perspective, since it inculcates alternative approaches to the traditional positivist research and others. What we are trying to mean is that it helps you to study the participant in their natural setting without interfering their abode. It utilizes qualitative data which are detailed and descriptive. With this, you'll be able to study a phenomena or a case in depth. Then it is most suitable for the study of human behavior, which is fluid, dynamic, situational, contextual, and personal. It welcomes flexible design and selection methods to avoid any rigid design, since it does not follow a systematic or rigid approach. It is very helpful in understanding a phenomena in depth and detail, since it deals direct or indirect with the people, situation, or phenomena. With this approach, you'll be able to study a phenomena or a group of people in their natural setting, and it encourage or it pave way for you to study them in depth, and it also help you to have a direct interaction with your respondent or your participant. It is also cost effective, since only few samples are considered. This approach normally encourages small number of people to be involved in the study as compared to the quantitative that deal with the larger sample size. The final results of this are detailed and interesting narrations about a phenomena. These are being supported by narration and direct quotation of your participant to support your findings. It can conduct cross-case comparison and analysis. It provides understanding and description of people's personal experiences of phenomena. Data collection is in a naturalistic setting, as it has been already explained. However, there are still some disadvantages, or there are some challenges with this approach. One, its findings or knowledge lacks the platform to generalize to other people or other settings because of the nature, size, and sampling technique used for data collection. Here, we are limited. You cannot generalize your findings to assume the total population or the total phenomena you study because of the sampling and the nature of research and data collection used. It may also be subjective bias because the results are easily influenced by the researcher's personal biases and others. Because the researcher has a direct contact with the participant, it may easily influence the outcome of the study. It is difficult to make quantitative predictions, since it is more difficult to test hypotheses and theories with large participant pools or phenomena. It utilizes a variety of methodologies in studying a phenomenon in holistic perspective. In certain cases, it is difficult to focus on complex interdependencies of its parts and understand the meaning of the phenomena as a whole. Its data collection and analysis can be time-consuming and therefore expensive. This is in the case whereby you need to stay with the person for a particular period or a long period of time to interact, especially when you are doing participant observation. You have to be with them to study them from a longer period of time, or doing ethnography study. Qualitative research, especially its data collection method, needs special training, which is hardly to come by. For instance, doing interviews, observational and focus group discussion, there is the need to train the interviewer in order to be able to interview the interviewee, and also to be able to conduct the interview to capture the appropriate information to answer your research question. It is exploratory rather than confirmatory. We are now moving on to quantitative approach. When you hear the quantitative, what comes into mind is quantity, that's numbers. So this approach are statistically inclined. Quantitative research generates statistics through the use of large-scale survey research using methods such as questionnaires or structured interviews. The results can be summarized in numbers, most often arranged in tables, but in qualitative research it is absent or at least not dominant. It is said to be a quantitative approach if researchers want to quantify the variation in a phenomenon, situation, or problem, or if information is gathered using predominantly quantitative variables, and if analysis is geared to ascertain the magnitude of the variation. If there is a case and you want to study to know the number of people involved, the number of them who have died or the number of them that survived, any research that deals with numbers, that deals with quantitation, that deals with variation. According to Gibbon 2008, he viewed quantitative approach as a systematical, empirical investigation of observable phenomena through statistical, mathematical, or computational techniques. We are moving on to the advantages of quantitative approach. With this one, we found out that it uses statistical method in making inferences through comparison between concepts, ideas, theories, among others. It deals with numerical value of a phenomena or variable. The result or the outcome of a quantitative research can be generalized as compared to the qualitative one that cannot be generalized. The use of multivariate method and analysis is helpful in measuring and controlling the variables which intervene between the dependent and interdependent variables. Here we can use ANOVA, multivariate analysis, or MANOVA, can use factor analysis. You can use a lot of multivariate method and analytical techniques to be able to measure the effects and the cause relationship between variables. Sampling errors can be identified and eliminated since trace methods are observed. Here, because quantitative approach goes with probability sampling techniques, you'll be able to calculate the sampling error and fix it. It is useful to test hypotheses and theories. It is best for examining the cause and effect relationship between and among variables. However, this is not a holistic approach without difficulties or challenges. Here are some of the disadvantages of quantitative approach. It does not provide depth or in-depth information about a case or a variable as compared to the qualitative that can study a phenomenon in depth or in detail. It may be biased in selection. Only issues that are prior known that can be considered, especially in a survey research. Here, the researcher has to have full knowledge about what is happening, or the person can expect what will happen at the end of the research before you can conduct. Qualitative data such as interview and observational guide can be transferred to quantitative data, while the reversal is not possible. That you cannot collect data in numeric or quantitative variable and turn them into qualitative. It can be time consuming. This is in a case whereby the sample size is large. It may be expensive. When the sample size is large, you need to print or you need to gather your research instrument to cover all this number of people, and it will require a lot of money, and you need to travel to distribute or a lot of things. If it is telephone interview or mail questionnaire, it will all require money. We are moving on to the mixed approach. This is the combination of the both qualitative and quantitative approach. This involves the combination of the two approaches, as I've said, the quantitative and the qualitative approach. However, according to Takasori and Criswell 2007 and other advocates of mixed method argue that the design encompasses more than simply combining qualitative and quantitative method, but rather it reflects a new third way epistemological paradigm that occupies the conceptual space between positivism and interpretivism. Criswell 2009 said that mixed research approach is an approach to inquire that combines or associates both qualitative and quantitative forms. Mixed research, as the third research approach, can also help bridge the schism between quantitative and the qualitative research. Here, that is help to capitalize on weakness and strength. So here, it enhances the weakness of one and the strength of one against the other. The goal of mixed method research is not to replace either of these approaches, but rather to draw from the strength and minimize the weakness of both in single research study and across studies. Looking at the advantages of mixed approach, narrative and non-textual information can add meaning to numerical data, while numerical data can add precision to narrative and non-textual information. Here, what we are trying to mean is that when you conduct a qualitative study, that is the non-numerical data or the narrative and non-textual information, you can add quantitative data to give more precision to your results, and vice versa. When you also conduct a quantitative research, you can also add a narrative information or data to it to give the numeric data more meaning or to explain it. It can utilize existing data while at the same time generating and testing a grounded theory approach to describe and explain phenomena under the study. A broader and more complex research problem can be investigated because the researcher is not limited by using one method. The strength of one method can be used to overcome the inherent weaknesses of another method. It can provide stronger and more robust evidence to support a conclusion or a set of recommendations. It may generate new knowledge, new insight, or uncover hidden insight, patterns, or relationship that a single methodological approach might not reveal. For instance, if you are conducting a qualitative data, there are some quantitative data that you cannot reveal. Therefore, the precision in your results will be less. And when you are also conducting quantitative study, there will not be more meaning or explanation to your numeric data. However, when you mix these methods or this approach together, you'll be able to overcome this. It produces more complete knowledge and understanding of research problems that can be used to increase generability of findings applied to theory or practice. We are looking at the disadvantages of the mixed approach. A researcher must be proficient in understanding how to apply multiple methods to investigate a research problem. Thus, with the research, the mixed approach is not just about mixing the approaches, that the qualitative or the quantitative, but rather it depends on the skill of the researcher to be able to apply or to be able to combine the techniques of these approaches. It can increase the probability of conflicting results or ambiguous findings that prevent drawing a valid conclusion. For instance, when your quantitative data arrive at a different result and the qualitative narration or explanation also arrive at a different result, which one do you take or which one do you abide with? So that is when you need the skill to be able to blend these approaches in order to come out with the best conclusion and recommendation. The research design can be very complex. Therefore, reporting the findings require a well-organized narrative, clear writing style, and precise word choice. The mixed approach invites collaboration among experts. However, merging different investigative approaches and writing styles require more attention to the overall research process than studies conducted using one methodological approach. Concurrent merging of quantitative and qualitative research requires greater attention to having adequate sample size, using comparable samples, and applying a consistent unit of analysis. Also, for sequential designs where one phase of qualitative research builds on the quantitative phase or vice versa, decisions about what results from the first phase to use in the next phase, the choice of samples and estimating reasonable sample size for both phases, and the interpretation of results from both phases can be difficult. Also, this approach can be expensive since a larger number of samples will be included. For instance, you need to cover a large sample size for quantitative, whereas you also have to interview or you also have to capture some number of sample size for a qualitative side. It can also be time wasting since you have to combine a number of methodological or approaches together. Due to the multiple forms of data being collected and analyzed, this design will require extensive time and expensive to carry out the multiple steps involved in data gathering and interpretation as compared to the single design. Consequences of having different samples and different sample size when merging two data sets. This brings us to the end of research approach. Watch out for research design in our next video. Thank you.